Tonight on the program, people are voting in Kenya's general election amid fears that the result could trigger communal violence. On the eve of the vote, President UHURU KENYATTA appealed for calm in a televised speech. He urged the 19 million registered voters to turn out in great numbers, but in peace. The contest pits Mr. KENYATTA against his longtime rival, RAILA ODINGA, and is seen as too close to call. Now, in South Africa, President Jacob ZUMA is facing another battle for his political future. He is facing what is his eighth no-confidence vote during his time in office. This time, however, the vote is a secret one. I am Segun Ojumu. Welcome to Hindsight. Segun Ojumu. On this program, we'll be bringing you news, views, and exclusive interviews with
security that cut across humanitarian aid too.
It becomes easier to do business in Nigeria. Now,
Nigeria.
Right, Kenyans have gone to the polls today amid fears of election violence, but they've trooped out in their huge numbers to cast their vote. And of course, people are fearing violence if the results are disputed. The election will have at least 51% of voters below the age of 35. Politicians have employed all tricks in the book to quote these numbers. President UHURU KENYATTA has promised to create 6.5 million jobs, while the opposition is promising to create at least one industrial park in each of the country's 47 counties. But who will voters choose, Mr. KENYATTA or Mr. RAILA ODINGA? Now, I have joining me in the studio Vincent Ikuomola. He is the Foreign Affairs Correspondent for the Nation newspaper. He joins me on the show today to talk about this and more. Thank you, Vincent, for coming.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, now let's get your initial thoughts about what is happening in Kenya today. It's a big election, and you've been monitoring it. What are your thoughts?
Well, going by the turnout, I think the people are really serious to vote and to elect a leader. But where it will swing is the issue right now.
Okay.
There are a lot of issues on ground for now. Politically and economically, things are not really been going too well. There is a high rate of unemployment right now amongst even the youth. And politically, if you also follow the trend there, two of them will be coming from ages, both parents. So it's
a generational battle.
And if you remember, Odinga's father was the vice to Jomo Kenyatta.
Okay.
And you understand what that means. And being an older person, Odinga, who has been there before now. I mean, and again, this is his last shot.
Exactly, because he's 72?
72. And for him, he says it's his last shot, and you know anything can still happen, even if he loses.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a fierce battle, and let's see how it's going to turn out. But for now, the turnout is so impressive.
But some will say, do you see, okay, change happened in Nigeria during the 2015 elections. The US election, nobody ever saw that result coming. In France, you know,
same way.
Somebody came from nowhere and formed the party. In less than a year, he's in power today. But do you think Kenya is ready for that kind of radical change?
The way things are, the world is a global village, and they were taking clue. People are taking clue from wherever. If you understand, look at what happened in Nigeria after the change era in Nigeria here. Ghana followed suit by voting in somebody's also of the same age bracket with their own president. Okay. And so in Kenya, it could go that way, or they might still want to retain the young man. But then don't also forget, it was in Nigeria, it was the young man, the young Jonathan against the elderly Yadwa. And because people wanted a change, Buhari emerged. Sorry, against Buhari. And Buhari emerged. And so it could also, if you also look at the scenario right now, this man has not, the president has not done too well. It has not really been impressive, quote and unquote, and that might also speak against him or work against him.
Yeah, I saw some videos of interviews in Kenya there, and Some say, look, ultimately it's the stomach that really matters. If their children are going to bed hungry, then they will rather vote for the other candidates. But let's even talk about what the candidates have been saying in the lead up to the polls. Observers have, seen that the leading candidates have both avoided inflammatory comments in the lead up to the. How important is that in your view?
The easiest way you can have an election, successful one for that matter, is address the situation, not the personality. Now, this is what I want to do. Let people know what you can do, what you're capable of doing, instead of using words that can cause mayhem or chaos in the country. And don't also forget that whatever happens, whoever emerges is going to rule over the people, not over the divided country. And where there is chaos, how do you really enjoy your tenure? And so these are things they I think want to try to avoid, and knowing fully well from where they're coming from. Yeah,
2011 there was post-electoral violence.
So knowing fully well where they're coming from and the result, the actual result. I mean, they ought to do everything possible to avoid, and which they've been doing. But again, if you look at what ODINGA said, that this is his last shot, that alone again might also spring forth, might also ignite people. He must have it this last time.
Yes, because part of the problem, is not so much as who wins, but if the other party will be ready to accept the result. Do you have a sense that this time around the results will be disputed? Or would it be, the other party will congratulate whoever the electoral officers say is the victor?
Close to call.
Too close to call.
Too close to call. The president might want to use the power of incumbency. And since ODINGA has been alleging that he might try to rig the election, I know that that fear or mistrust could go a long way to dispute the election. And again, I believe the turnout should speak. The turnout should speak. Will decide if, because when the people begin to react, then the loser will have a cause to either dispute or to accept the result.
Okay, now to win outrightly, a candidate needs 51%. Okay, you know the math. Okay, a candidate needs 50 plus 1% plus one vote, and at least 25 of the vote in all of in 24 of Kenya's 47 counties. All right. If that threshold is not met, what happens? A runoff vote between the top two candidates. Yeah, talking about that, there are actually more than two candidates in the, but
the main candidates
are those. Yeah, exactly. So the winner will now require a simple majority, right? But do you think either candidates can get this simple majority, this 50 plus one vote?
They can, if with the turnout of voters now.
Okay.
There are possibilities, because for one or two gatherings, you find out that so people are really disenchanted. That people want the change, and the only way you can affect the change is to vote who you think can work for you. There are possibilities. There are possibilities.
Now, part of the change that the Kenyans want is the issue of terrorism. Kenya, just like Nigeria, has had its issues with terror.
Al-Shabaab.
Yes, from Somalia. Do you think the president has really handled that matter well, in your view?
The issue of security and terrorism is beyond what a president of a nation can actually handle on his own.
Right.
If you look at it, it's not that they really have them in Kenya, but they come in to operate
across the border.
And if you also look at the way they operate again, you find that it's the normal way. They go, explode, and
go back to their base.
And so, because of the nature of this, don't also forget that Kenya is a strong member of the East African Economic Bloc.
ECAS?
Yeah, and if you look at Kenya, Ethiopia, and because of the tourism and whatever, people come in.
Yes.
So
that sector has been hit hard.
Yeah, and that's where they really earn the foreign exchange and the revenue from. And so it goes a long way, because with being an economic hub of East Africa, it will take not just the intervention of the president alone, of other countries working together for them to overcome. So it's not just the president alone now. You can't really blame the president
Yes,
for.
yes, you understand that, but do you think the ordinary voter in South Africa will understand that? I mean, in Kenya will understand that?
Well, I think again, that's where communication, information, if you need to discuss, let your people know what's happening. Just like we're doing here. If you're fighting terrorism, you need to come out and make people know that you're really fighting terrorism.
Yes.
And let them, get the support and the buy-in of the people. It goes a long way. Okay,
we're going to go on a short break, but before we do that and close this subject, Kenya uses its computerized voting system, but and of course, many analysts see it as key to the success of free and fair results.
Don't also forget the report of failures of those.
Exactly. You just beat me to that. Now, the votes will be counted manually, and if the machines fail, and of course, that could throw the results in doubt. Yeah. How do you think this will all play out in the end? Because we're already having those, reports.
But though the electoral body has promised to rectify whatever errors before time, and if they're able to do that, I think they will overcome it.
Okay, now I'm going to put you on the spot very quickly. Who do you think will win this? Because we're expecting results maybe in the next 3 days. By tomorrow, we'll start having an idea
of who's going to win.
But who do you think is going to nick it in the end?
I said earlier on that it's close to call.
Too close to call?
Too close to call.
Who's your money on?
Maybe the current president will still have.
All right, the current president it is. We're going to continue our conversation with Vincent Ikomola after the break. We'll be talking about a man who is also fighting for his political future, Jacob Zuma of South Africa. Stay with us. On this program, we'll be bringing you news, views, and exclusive interviews with
security that cut across humanitarian aid to.
It becomes easier to do business in Nigeria. Now,
Nigeria.
Welcome back. Next, we go to a country which has arguably the biggest economy in Africa. We're talking about South Africa here. Now, these have not been the best of times for its president, Jacob Zuma. He has been through a no confidence vote for the 8th time, and that vote is on as we speak. Now, South African MPs are voting this time around, and they are doing so using the secret ballot system. Right. Now, Speaker of the Parliament, Baleka Mbete, made the ruling after the opposition parties took the case to the Constitutional Court. The latest attempt to unseat Mr. Zuma came after he fired his widely respected Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan, and other ministers in the major cabinet reshuffle in March, sparking nationwide protests. Now, the president has also faced allegations of corruption and accusations that he has become too close to the wealthy Gupta family. They are accused of trying to influence political decisions, including the sacking of Mr. Gordhan. Long before the vote, Mr. Zuma did not hide his displeasure at this vote, which he said was needless, and he was also very defiant. Let's hear Mr. Zuma speaking about the vote that is currently taking place.
In the past, how have we dealt with that issue here? I have faced 7 kind of vote of no confidence. How did we vote on the 7? No, you have tried your best, but you have failed. Now, why this time? Why this time you think you should do it differently? It's finder really, trying to see whether can you win on this one or not. What has gone wrong? Because that's how we've been voting. What is the problem? So my view is that we should do what we have done all the time in the past times, because I see no convincing reason why we should change. So if I might therefore say which one, in a manner in which we've been voting before, it has not been secret, and that's how we've voted. We've got instruments here to vote. Let us use those instruments. Why should you are trying to get a majority you don't have by saying secret ballot? I think it's not fair because you are trying to increase the majority you don't have. So that is my view. Let us vote the way we've been voting all the time. It will be the 8th time. I'm sure by the time we get to December, to be more than 10. Maybe it's your job as the opposition, even to try to find alternative methods, etc. Fact of the matter, you don't have the majority. And you are not going to have the majority. In 2019, the ANC will win once again because you don't have a majority.
Interesting speech there by Mr. Zuma. Now, let me add this before we continue the conversation. Before that vote began, the governing African National Congress and opposition party traded barbs in 2 hours of heated, very heated debate, I shall say, before voting booths were brought out onto the floor of the parliament. Mr. Zuma has already survived 7 no confident votes. But the opposition hopes some ANC MPs will side with them this time around, and that is why they are asking for a secret ballot. Your thoughts about this?
Well, it will really help, because just like what we normally have here in Nigeria those days, when you vote, the people might come after you. The fear of voting for the truth or for the reality might not be there. But when you vote secret, nobody knows who did what and who did not vote. I mean, that everyone wants to keep his head.
Yes, talking about keeping some ANC members of parliament have been threatened, those who have dared to speak out openly. What does that say about South African democracy?
Well, it shows that it's a developed democracy, though in African context now. Because like what has happened here, most of the cases, it won't happen in developed countries. It won't get to this point before someone begin to resign. But most of the allegations, I mean, Zuma is used to it.
Yes, let me, talking about being used to it, his legal woes are many here. In 2005, he was charged with corruption over a multi-billion-dollar 1999 arms deal, and the charges were dropped shortly before he became president in 2007. In 2016, the court ordered he should be charged with 286 counts of corruption over the deal, and he was appealed and he was acquitted. Then he was charged with raping a family friend. He was acquitted. Then again, issue of him spending government money on
his own personal
house. Yes, that too. He repaid the money, and then that was that. Why is he such a controversial figure?
By nature, if you look at how he also came in as a president, he was a controversial person right from onset, and he probably, because of the African nature in him too, was not able to discard those ways. He has forgotten that he's a public figure. However you do must be done openly, and as a president of Africa's biggest economy, I mean, a lot is expected of him, especially with the configuration of his country. There are a lot of people there who are, let's forget white or black right now. Okay. There are people who really develop the country. And so if you're doing something as a president, you need to also lead. You must be an example to the people. And so if your lifestyle is not one that tells that you are a good example, a mentor to follow, then you're not supposed to be there.
He was one who once famously made this comment about HIV, having a bath, and then you're cured of, you won't be infected with HIV. Okay, but now, back to the subject matter. The ANC has described this move by the opposition as, as an attempt to usurp power. Is it?
The thing they need to address is this man guilty of those allegations? Has he done something wrong? Nobody's looking at that. And politics should go beyond party. You're talking about the country, the image of the country, the entire country. And don't also forget, since 2009, South Africa has been in recession. They've not been out of it since 2009. And so what are we talking about? since 2009. So he's not really, I didn't really see him as somebody who can help to bring back the country. And so there are a lot to it. There are a lot to it beyond party. But then, you know, African mentality, you must speak for your party. Even if your leader is going wrong, you must continue to support him.
Okay, as we prepare to close, what do you think, because that vote is on as we speak, what do you think, what sort of scenario do you see playing out at the end of the day? Do you think, like the proverbial cat with 9 lives, do you think Jacob Zuma will survive this 8th attempt?
Listen to some of the arguments on the floor of the parliament now. He might, because the ANC are still speaking for him, standing for him. They are not talking about the crime, like I said. They are not talking about the allegations now. They are just talking about the opposition not having the number and they want to use them whatever. But the truth is, the allegations from the opposition, are they real? Are they things that should be condoned?
Yeah, it reminds me of what happened in Pakistan just about a week ago. You know, it was this issue of corruption and all of that, and now they have a new prime minister, even though it's just a temporary one. But tell us again, what will happen if Jacob Zuma loses the vote? What will happen?
If he loses, he's going to step down with the entire cabinet. Okay. And so the speaker steps in.
Okay. All right.
The
for how long?
Parliament. I'll not be able to get that, but I know it's a temporary.
It's a temporary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before an election. And again, he's still going to hold on as the ANC leader until December, when they will have their national conference. Okay.
His term ends in 2019, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we await the result of that no confidence vote. Let's see if Jacob Zuma will survive for the 8th time. Of course, in that video, he said, well, he won't be surprised that this no confidence vote will happen, you know, the 10th
two more
before December. Mr. Vincent, thank you very much for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, Mr. Vincent is the Foreign Affairs correspondent of the Nation newspapers. We thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we end the show on that note. Keep in touch with us on the email address and the Twitter handle on your screens. I am Segun Ojumu. I'll see you again next week. I say goodbye from me and the rest of the crew here.